Welcome to the caverns of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Did I sound like the guy?
You sounded like the guy from 976 Evil, the movie that we're watching or talking about today from 1988.
Yes, 1988.
And it was directed by Robert Englund, who played Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, another movie we need to watch.
Oh my God. Yes. The first Nightmare on Elm Street. I feel like that was like transformative terror at that age.
Transformative terror.
But this movie was not transformative terror. This movie was transformative terrible. 976 Evil. So this movie, I think I actually added it to our list. Like we made a list a long time ago of like movies to watch. And because I do remember it, like I remember watching it and being disturbed by it. And I always thought it'd be a good one to go back to, but I soon regretted the decision. And you suggested it for this time. So I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I don't really know why I suggested it. I mean, I remembered seeing it, and I feel like we watched it on USA Up All Night.
Oh my God. Yeah, probably.
Pick up the phone. And I remember that they always would have these like, are you looking for a hot date? Pick up the phone. Those commercials for the 900 number would always be on USA Up All Night. And then this movie, 976 Evil, is about a phone hotline that you call for your horoscope. And no, Geraldo is not the voice of the horoscope. Much to my dismay.
It should be. You're right. What a great tie-in. We were just like blasted with those commercials as children. I remember making a parody of one of those commercials for like a project in 7th grade. It did not go over well. The teacher didn't think it was appropriate for our age group.
Oh my God.
It was freaking hilarious.
I had, because we were not in the same group, but we had the same project. And our commercial that we did, which was my idea, was for a attorney that you call when you're injured. And I played the attorney. Our friend had a giant trampoline. And so I had her jump on it and act like she fell, and then she went, ow! And then I was like standing in front of a desk, and I was like, have you been injured? You know, I did the whole spiel.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up every commercial we saw as children. And the other one I did was for weight loss. Like, that's it. That's what we saw.
Exactly.
Sex, lawyers, and weight loss.
Well, you go on the weight loss pill. You have some sex. And then you sue the weight loss pill company because you had a heart attack while you're having sex.
Perfect. The trifecta.
Hello there. Looking at you, Fen.
Yeah, so we watched this movie probably on USA Up All Night, which I forgot was a thing, but that was like a huge thing. Yeah, I just remember the thing that creeped me out the most about this movie that always like stuck out in my mind was, no offense to this actor, but just the actor who played the main character, Hoax. His name's like Stephen Jeffrey. I just always felt like he was really creepy looking just to begin with, not even once he became possessed or anything. There's just something about him that's always creeped me out.
Yes.
And he was the scariest part of the movie for me, like in my mind, like something stuck with me about him of just like bad, weird vibes.
Yeah.
Like he probably had a dungeon in his house or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean.
Something weird. What about you?
Well, okay, so I'm Holly.
Oh, yeah. I'm Sara.
And we totally got excited and forgot to say
I'm
that.
really
But
bad
you
at
probably
that.
already knew that. This movie, I feel like, wasn't really scary. when we watched it or anything. I was just sort of like, thought it was kind of funny because it was so ridiculous. Here's the whole thing. So you call a number, 976 evil, and you get your horror scope after you press 666 on your touch tone dial. It's a pay by the minute number. The voice comes on. So you call the number, a voice comes on, and it tells you something that is like encouraging you to do a selfish deed that you've actually been wanting to do. And then if you do it, cool. When you call back, you'll get another selfish deed. If you don't do it, what the man on the phone suggests, then he gets really angry and he calls you back and he bullies you into doing what you don't want to do. And if you don't do it, then he explodes you through the phone. So that's what's going on with this hotline.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. The first thing that we see, like the movie opens with some random man in a business suit, like running out of a warehouse. We don't know what he's running from. And then he ends up in this dark alley with a payphone at the end of it. And it's ringing. And he stares at it. He's apprehensive, but he goes to answer it. And then when he picks up the phone, basically like a charge goes through it. And he gets ignited on fire and explodes out of the phone booth. And dies.
That made me think of how people are scared to talk on the phone these days. Like people have like anxiety, like when their phone rings. That I've seen like research that people like are coming out about like people have anxiety when they have to talk on the phone because everybody like people don't do it anymore, you know. And some people have grown up now that they've never done it.
Wow.
That's never been the primary mode of communication. It's always been texting. So there's serious anxiety there.
That's crazy to think about. But it's so true. I'm going to use that as the reason that my niece doesn't like to talk to me on the phones. It's because it's less hurtful than
right.
The fact that she just doesn't want to talk to me and she thinks I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
It's because she's afraid of the actual technology of the phone. It's foreign to her.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. I feel some of that now too. It's like I actually still remember the point where I was like, why would you text? Why wouldn't you just call and tell them what you want to say? Like, why would you want to spend time typing it out? I can't believe I ever felt like that. Yeah. And now I'm just like, why is someone ever calling me?
Yeah.
I completely did a 180.
Well, I don't hardly ever talk on the phone. I probably talk on the phone more recently than in past years. But also when you talk to somebody on the phone, it can be really nice. The issue, I think, is that there's always a point where you have to get off the phone. And if you're not used to talking on the phone, I think that might be the part that's anxiety inducing of getting stuck on the phone.
Yeah.
And then it's ever so like when the phone rings, there's the potential that you're going to have to assert yourself and say, I have to get off the phone.
You're right.
Is that what it is?
I think you're nailing it. Yeah, I think that's the most anxiety provoking part. I know people that use like different excuses to get off the phone. Like I know someone that used to always say, and this is when people were used to talking on the phone, but she'd always be like, I have to go to the bathroom. Like she'd say that every time, no matter who she was talking to. I have to go to the bathroom. Just use that to get off the phone. And that was her thing. So yeah, she knew like, all right, when I'm done, this is what I'm going to say. And it worked.
It was like a safe out. And how are you going to argue with a small bladder?
Exactly. Yeah, you're not going to be like, oh, I'll wait. Take the phone with you, you know. You're just going to let them go. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think
Oh,
that's a
thank you.
huge source of anxiety for people. It is nice to actually talk on the phone sometimes. So certainly I do.
Mm-hmm.
We talk sometimes. I mean, we mainly talk doing
Mm-hmm.
this now.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, I have certain friends that I talk to like pretty regularly through the week, and then my parents. But other than that, it's like
Yeah.
texting is the main thing. And
Yeah.
it's just more like convenient for whoever's receiving it. What
Mm-hmm.
if they're busy? I always feel like, what if the person's busy and then I call them and then they feel obligated to talk to me and I've interrupted something that they're doing? But with a text, they can just respond at their leisure.
Mm-hmm.
It's less invasive and less demanding.
Some people would probably be like, kids these days, they don't even want to talk on the phone. But then it's like, okay, well, let's look at the reasons why you would have anxiety around talking on the phone. And most of those anxieties have something to do with potentially hurting the other person's feelings or inconveniencing them.
Mm-hmm.
How is that rude? And I've actually had that thought because a lot of times when I want to talk to somebody on the phone, I will text them first and be like, hey, you want to talk on the phone soon?
Yes.
Because I don't want them to feel the obligation of, I have to call her back.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really busy, that can feel stressful. But I would have never, ever thought about the logistics of that growing up talking on the telephone and not texting ever and never even thinking of texting, except sending notes in class.
Yeah, that was our text.
Yeah, which is what texting is.
It's true. We spent so much time on the phone. We would spend like hours on the phone. I remember talking to you on the phone, and then my parents would be like, didn't you just see her in school? How are you still talking? What do you have to talk about? And it's like, I don't even know. What did we talk about?
What did we talk about until...
I have no idea, but we did.
Yep. Our conversations for the show we put out there is a tiny amount of time that we're actually hanging out when we record. So that's I feel like we're just having like a hangout session because it's like an all evening affair. That's really fun. And like we used to do that on the phone. We were just hanging out. So it would be like sometimes like watching a TV show or at the same time or like making fun of a video together or whatever. Basically some of the stuff we're doing now.
You're right.
Oh my God. We're doing exactly the same thing now that we did in 6th grade, only in public.
That is true.
Okay, so back to the movie, I guess. So look at the mom. There's this domineering mother who is a religious fanatic. 976 Evil is the story of Carrie, only as a 80s nerd.
Oh my gosh. You're right.
I mean, isn't that what this is?
Yes. You're blowing my mind. It's true.
I mean, his mom hates sex. He gets like abused by her. She hits him repeatedly, just like painfully dismissive parenting where she's like hitting her teenage boy and being like, you're wrong. Like, you don't know and I do. And that's her attitude.
Did they show her hitting him like with the belt and stuff? She's always like, I'm going to get my belt or my switch.
I just remember her hitting him like on the shoulder and on the head and like, they're not like full on punches. It's open-handed. No. But that's like, it's so gross. So boobs are dirty. Jesus is Lord and all animal urges of humans are a thing of Satan. This is his mom's spiel. She's like, this is like a playbook on how to raise a serial killer. She's
so
like,
it is always the mom's fault.
Exactly.
How it's always the mom's fault if someone becomes a serial killer or if they become like schizophrenic or anything like that. It's
Or
because they
gay.
had a frigid mother
Hmm.
or an overbearing mother. Basically, moms are responsible for everything that happens.
It's always your fault. You know why? Because you succumbed to the temptations of Satan.
But the Pope told me to.
I know!
The Pope says I'm selfish if I don't have kids. So what am I supposed to do?
Oh my God. And then he's bullied at school.
Mm-hmm.
So we cut to the quote unquote toilet shampoo, which I think is like one of the most evil things that you could do
Oh,
to a
yeah.
person. And I think it's very odd how they show it in movies as though it's just like that's just another bully prank.
It's in every movie. It's in so many movies. Do you know anyone that's ever actually gotten what do they call it? A swirly or a
Ugh,
what else do they call it?
yeah, I'm not sure. I've only heard
Know anyone who's ever
swirly.
had that happen to them?
I don't that I've ever been told. No one's ever told me that happened to them.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way. But if it did
They
happen
probably
to
wouldn't.
you, would you tell anybody?
No.
I would try to scrub my brain
Ugh.
with a lot of hard drugs, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't think I know anyone that's ever happened to. It's just like so predominant in the media that I'm like, it's
Hmm.
got to have happened to someone, but
It's like every 80s bully
hmm.
was pulling the shampoo swirly.
The toilet shampoo.
The toilet shampoo.
Ugh.
So these four guys who are trying to be gutter punks,
Mm.
they're on crystal meth, they're high school students, and they bully Hoax, but they also play poker with Hoax's cousin, Spike, who is very not threatening at all. The fact that
Mhm.
his name is Spike is kind of hilarious. So Spike has a gambling problem. That's pretty obvious.
Mhm.
He does not hang out with these guys except to play poker, and they all sort of just act like they're the Rat Pack. Like they're like pretending to be suave playing poker, and I thought that's so funny because they're dressed up like these dirty punk rockers.
Hmm. Yeah, the only place we ever see them is in a bathroom, a graffitied bathroom, or at a poker table.
Yeah,
It's
and
the only place we see these four
Yeah.
dudes.
and in the bathroom, the graffiti on the back says "Eat pussy more often." I just wanted to point that out.
I saw the eat pussy part, but I didn't see them more often.
Yeah.
That makes it even funny. It's part of a healthy breakfast. So he's in high school. He's a
Mhm.
gambling addict already. So are
Mhm.
these guys apparently.
Mhm.
I guess they work at the movie house. They always show the movie theater that's playing like Horror Fest. One of them runs the projector, I guess. And then while the movie's playing, they play poker.
Yes. This movie is really boring. I felt like when I was a kid, I just thought it was silly.
Yes.
And I thought that it was like capitalizing on the satanic storylines. Basically, the story is that you call 976 evil and Satan takes you over. You get a demon. Satan is going to teach you how to become evil and channel the power of Satan through yourself so that you can have the things that are actually really rewarded and encouraged in our culture, which is power, sex, and money.
Mm-hmm.
These are all the things Satan promises.
Oh.
They're also the things that are completely rewarded in a capitalistic society.
Mhm.
Therefore, if you're a Christian, you should be anti-capitalist.
I don't know if it works that way. I don't think that pans out. But yeah, theoretically, I guess that's true. Yes, this movie is boring with a capital B.
So eventually he gets a ritual, Hoax gets a ritual recipe over the phone, It definitely involves a salt outline pentagram
Mm-hmm.
and a spider. And we're shown how sensitive he is because at first he can't kill spiders. He actually likes spiders and he puts a spider outside so that it doesn't, get killed. But then but then he's talking on the Satan line, and next thing you know, he's sacrificing his own pet spider to terrorize a dirty Jezebel whore.
Mm-hmm.
His words, not mine.
Right.
To death. First off, I'm pretty sure she's a dirty Jezebel whore is like what every sexual serial killers like ever said about their victims.
The dirty Jezebel whore is, so his cousin Hoax has a girlfriend and she's cute and like punk looking. He gets tired of Spike gambling and not paying attention to her. And Hoax has a crush on her because she's a girl. In the beginning of the movie, you see that like Spike lives on their property with Hoax and his mom, but like in a little garage apartment. And then Hoax will always be looking out the window and like seeing when Spike comes home and waving and sending like this weird pneumatic tube, like a system that the banks use to send messages over to his cousin. Like, hi, Spike. And Spike's like, hi. And then pulls the shades down like, ugh.
Why are you spying on me? I can see you with your like telescope peering into my window.
Yeah, so when Spike brings his girlfriend back to the apartment, the kid is peering into the window with a telescope, watching them have sex. And then he sends a pneumatic tube message like while they're having sex. So he's not even trying to like hide the fact that he's doing it.
Well, he doesn't know because he's been completely sheltered by his mom.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he doesn't have any social skills because she never let him be around anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was my impression, Yeah. I'm not blaming her for his whole life or anything, but I mean, come on, it does have an effect. And his mom is extremely dysfunctional. Yeah, she's like the born again Baby Jane from Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. That's how I would describe Hoax's mom.
I was kind of digging her.
She's amazing.
She was reminding me of like Divine in Hairspray or something. She had like different wigs every day and like cat's eye glasses. And she always had like a different look going every day. Giant wigs and a lot of cats.
Yes.
I feel like she's the ultimate cat lady. And I don't know. I was kind of becoming partial to his mom. That's how Hoax gets like involved with this girl that's his cousin's girlfriend,
Susie.
And like Susie leaves after she has sex with Spike. She leaves her underwear in his apartment, and then they leave to go watch a movie, which Spike ends up gambling through. But while they're gone, Hoax sneaks into his apartment and steals her underwear, and of course he like grabs him and is like, "Ooh, girls' underwear." And he like walks over to the chair where they were having sex. I was afraid he was going to smell the chair. I swear to God, I smell the chair. If he does, I'm turning off this movie.
That was like your breaking point.
Yeah, that was going to be my breaking point. He didn't sniff the chair. He just touched it. And then he called the number. That's when he found the 976 evil card that Spike had. And then he's like, I'm feeling naughty right now with what I'm doing. Let me call this number. And then that number tells him, like, basically go steal Spike's girlfriend. Then he goes and meets her and goes to pizza with her while Spike's gambling. And he's starting to think that she likes him. And she kind of is starting to like him a little bit, it seems like, maybe.
Yeah. I don't think in like a sexual way, but I think she likes him like, oh, I made a friend. Who's like not as creepy as I thought he was. Because she thought he was creepy from the get-go. And Susie's actually super assertive and just like no nonsense. She tells Spike, like, you're not paying attention to me and I'm not putting up with this, so bye.
Yeah.
And
she I like
stands
Susie.
up to the bullies at the pizza place when the bullies come in. She likes to eat. I mean, Susie's like, awesome.
I'm mad, and when I'm mad, I eat. And she's eating a giant pepperoni pizza. because it's the 80s and you have to have at least one pepperoni pizza in every movie.
Exactly.
It's like a union rule or something. The pepperoni union. Big pepperoni. Demand it.
Oh
yeah.
God,
And so
yes.
then the bullies come in and they like beat up Hoax during their little date. And she was defending him, but then she saw that he had her underwear in his pocket. And then she's like, oh, I thought you were different, but obviously you actually are a creep. And then she leaves. So then he gets mad at her because he got busted for being a creep. And then he puts the spell on her to scare her because she's afraid of spiders, like you were saying. And he only wanted to scare her, but then somehow she ends up dying from tarantulas crawling on her.
Yeah. She dies when Hoax sacrifices his pet spider.
Yeah.
It kills her.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because Satan.
Right. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, basically. It's weird that you're trying to figure out why things are happening because it's really just Satan.
Right.
You know what they say about Satan? He works in mysterious ways.
Don't. I still have like enough of the Christian upbringing in me that I get like antsy when people do stuff like that.
Oh, sorry.
It makes me tense.
I should have said this in the uncovered, but I just thought of it. But so this kid Hoax is going on a killing spree now.
Yeah.
So he's
got a taste for it.
Yeah, he got a taste. He's super into the hotline, and he's going to kill everybody that has pushed him around.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to get his revenge. After it's all over, Geraldo's going to show up, and he's going to say, "Look what Satan did. He made this kid kill his mother and all of these other people." Then Hoax is going to say, "I don't know what happened to me. I started worshiping Satan and then I had a taste for blood." But people kill for God all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And no one goes, what is it about God that made you kill for him? Like, apply all of these questions that Geraldo or any of these people are applying to, why are you doing it, Satanist? Like, apply that to people who kill for God.
Mm-hmm. Interesting point.
There's a reporter.
Yeah. But then doesn't he hold up like a badge at one point though?
Does he?
Said like investigator or something. I got confused and I didn't care enough to rewind it. Just keep going.
I think I must have dozed off in that part.
When he's going to see the principal later, he like pulls out this badge, and then I'm like, "Is he a cop? What is he?"
You know what? He's an investigative reporter. He's clearly a rebel because he also breaks into the Satan hotline building,
right,
where the calls are coming from.
He's the Geraldo of the movie.
Exactly. Only he's like, actually seems like he's a nice guy. Who's really the only one that's legitimately concerned about the people in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my next big thing with this movie. Speaking of the reporter finally gets his hands on this number and he's like, those weird stuff's happening and he's following it around. He does the smart thing. He doesn't call the number. He figures out where the building is that the number is connected to. Mm-hmm. So he goes to the building and he interviews this guy, Mark Dark, who has all of these like rooms set up with different various hotlines. And then he gets to this one room. Well, what's going on here? And it's this tape contraption. And he's like, Mark Dark's like, I tried to set up like an automated call service, but it didn't work. Like nobody called and it's just been sitting there. Mm-hmm. The reporter wasn't buying it, and he went back and he sees it like in action. And so he like ends up saving them. But what's interesting about it is that I was like, well, this is like one of the first like blatant recognitions that like artificial intelligence is going to end up destroying humanity.
Ooh.
because the machine is automated and has taken on a cognizance.
Mm-hmm.
So really, I feel like if you're a fundamentalist, you probably shouldn't be on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I've learned anything from 976 Evil, Satan loves to travel through the ethers, you know, that connect you to other people through like the phone line or the internet.
The Ethernet. So we should get off of the internet right now.
Because initially, you know, Spike is calling the hotline, the horoscope hotline, but he doesn't do what he's told. He wants these leather driving gloves. And he calls the hotline, but he can't afford them. They were $20.
Yeah, that's a lot then.
Yeah. And he goes outside to the payphone and calls the hotline just like to kill time. And the guy on the phone's like, "You're in command. Take what's yours." So he goes inside and he takes the gloves, but then he like immediately puts them back. And then the phone rings again. He picks up the phone and he's threatened. And then he hangs up the phone. He almost gets ran over, except the reporter is watching this whole thing and he saves them. He pushes him out of the way of the car. So then you realize, like, oh, these other, you know, because they showed some other people picking up the phone, a payphone that was ringing and then dying. And you're like, what the hell is that about? But now we see, like, oh, those were people that said, this is too far. I'm not doing what you're going to tell me. I'm not choosing evil. But Hoax, he couldn't help himself. The other thing that's interesting, though, that I do like about this is that, you know how Hoax is doing things like constantly peeping his cousin and when he's having sex, stealing girls' underwear, really creepy shit. We look at that stuff and we're like, that's so creepy. But in the movie, you can like, they show you like the rest of his life of what's going on with him and how he's like really victimized and how he's using the peeping as a way to connect with another person. So to him, he's not going, "Whoo, meh, ha, ha, I'm being a creep. I'm spying on my cousin having sex." He's going, I don't know how to do this, and it's right over there, so I'm going to look at it because it's exciting, and I want to do it, and I want to be like my cousin.
Spike.
So if I'm like Spike, he'll like me, so I'm going to study Spike from afar, so I can be like him, and then he'll like me. So you get to see how this like really creepy behavior is like born out of a sense of despair at feeling like consistently rejected and alone. Now, Hoax took the easy way out, if you want to call it that. What he saw is like the quick and easy way out of his situation, which is to have power over other people and make them submit to his will, because he feels, in a lot of ways, it's very like Jeffrey Dahmer, you know, how he was like, well, I just didn't want them to leave, kind of. I wanted a body that would always be there, kind of a thing. It's like that level of loneliness that is one of the root sources of what we call evil deeds that we don't acknowledge. We just go, they're evil, they're monsters, they're assholes, they're narcissists, they're psychopaths. So let's just throw some labels on it, and we won't even look at like what's really underneath any of this stuff. And it's like, just because I'm saying like Jeffrey Dahmer was like the loneliest fucking person ever, probably one of, you know, I'm not like saying that it was okay what he did or like that I like him or something. I'm just saying like, well, what the fuck happened here?
Right.
How did this mess happen? And if you're going to go, it was Satan, you're never going to find any answers. And that's just like shown over and over again. It just creates more problems that feed upon themselves to the point where now with the latest satanic panic, it's the same thing over and over again. And there's people crying at the holidays because they lost their parents to artificial intelligence algorithm on a social media platform.
Oh, I feel like I didn't have much to say about this movie. It's just like boring. I kind of spaced out. I was like, oh, I'm looking forward to seeing this because it's been so long and I like remembered it so much. But then I was like, wow, this is so bad. And the best part was just like looking forward to seeing what wig his mom was going to be wearing the next day and her cats.
Also, his mom said, Jesus loved the devil out of me, which I thought sounded strangely erotic, which I think it was meant to.
I like that.
Me too. So I did have a sums up the 80s quote.
Oh, okay.
So Mark Dark, he tells the reporter, what's happening in the USA? A guy can't make a buck anymore.
Oh.
And I thought, that sums up the 80s.
Some guys can't make a buck and some guys are making all the bucks.
Yeah. There was the image of, there was a random woman who had, her horoscope got out of control. And she was by a phone mart that was a store that only sold telephones of all different shapes, varieties, and novelty. The phones start ringing at once.
Oh my God.
They just like explode en masse. The woman's standing in front of the store. And then the next thing you know, she's on the ground. And right next to her head is a lipstick red high heel phone.
Ooh.
Did you notice that?
Mm-mm.
I thought, now that sums up the 80s.
Yes. That or those phones that look like red lips. That's the other sums up the 80s phone.
Totally.
Those are the best. Or a Garfield phone.
Ooh, Garfield.
So my favorite quote of this movie was his mom was sitting at the table for dinner with all of her cats on the table. And I think they were eating like tuna casserole. And each cat had a plate. And she was saying her prayer. And then she said, and please bless all the hungry pussies in the world.
Yes.
For her pussy cat. But
okay.
Yeah.
So that is also my just favorite quote of the movie.
How could it not be? Oh my God. It's like she had a hungry because she never gets any sex.
Yeah. She has a hungry pussy.
I just can't even say it. It's so, like you have the message of eat more pussy and then hungry pussies. And it's like,
yeah, this is actually a very pro pussy movie.
Whoa, wait. And then there's a part where the pussy's actually eating her.
Yes.
Because after her son kills her.
That's right.
Her cats start eating her. Like immediately, within hours.
Immediately.
They
were like
I hope it would take longer. I was like, Dan, how long do you think it would take before the cats would start eating us? And he's like, I don't know, maybe a couple days.
I would say 3 days.
I hope they would at least wait a few days.
Yeah, I think
not just like instantly. Like
no,
that would be hurtful.
I think it was like a ongoing joke.
Yeah,
the eating pussy.
I'm just now getting it.
And then pussy's eating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Out of the darkness and into the light.
That's how I felt at the end of the movie. It's like, finally. I'm out of the darkness. It's over. Yeah, so at the end, like, there's a big culmination scene, and the reporter and the principal from the school, because the reporter like falls in love with the principal because she's like hot principal.
Sure. Yeah.
And they like get on the case together, and then they end up at Hoax's house and go inside, and like the house is all frozen over, which is like, I don't know why it's frozen if shouldn't it be burning?
Hell freezes over? I think it was cheaper, technically, to make it look like everything was frozen than it was to set everything on fire. Because there was no CGI back then. So they were like, oh, this is just like a play on when hell freezes over. It's brilliant. This will work. That was my take on it.
Definitely. It's safer and cheaper. Yeah, that's good.
And I mean, if there's one thing I know about Satan, he's a fucking cheapskate.
That would make sense.
He was every expense is spared.
So in this scene, then it's like there's finally his cousin Spike. Wait, can I just bring up one more thing?
Totally, yeah.
I gotta go way back to the beginning.
Yeah, go for it. Just hop all over the place.
Hoax does the whole thing with like the spiders. That's his first dipping his toe into evil, and kills Susie for like not wanting to have sex with him. Then the next day at school, he like goes to school, and that's when he gets in the fight in the bathroom and grows the like claws and everything and cuts the boys open.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what were you gonna say?
No, go. I'm just excited because this was something I was wondering about.
Okay, and then so he does the whole thing, cuts the boy's face open and all that stuff. I think that's when he sees the private investigator like talking to the principal looking for Spike. So then he goes to find Spike and like tell him like, hey, someone's looking for you. He like casually mentions like, oh, we could take these guys on. Like Hoax has always wanted to fight these guys and he wants Spike to help. And he was like, I'm going to show them like I showed your girlfriend. And then Spike's like, what? And he's like, your girlfriend. I didn't mean to kill her. I just wanted to scare her. I think I must have spaced out or something because I don't remember any big reaction out of Spike when he said that he had killed his girlfriend. Like, what happened after that?
I think that it was poorly edited. Because to me, I could be remembering this wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like he told him that, and then Spike was like, what the fuck? Like, you know, he's really like, what is happening? Mm-hmm. And then it just cuts to another scene.
No, that is what happened.
Yeah, that's how it happened.
Because later I was like, wait, I don't remember any like real repercussions for him telling Spike he murdered his girlfriend.
Hoax took off when he realized that Spike was not into killing people. He was like,
I'd have to watch that again.
He was like, I'm going to take my formaldehyded frog dissection surgical gloves that have been busted through with cloven hoofs. I'm just going to walk around like that. He wore those surgical gloves the rest of the movie. And that was the creepiest thing about this movie. Is every time I would see those surgical gloves, I would think he's had those on for so long and they still have that disgusting formaldehyde frog juice all over them.
Mm-hmm. You're right. He did. Because I remember the one scene when Spike was looking at his hand through the window and he was like doing something weird. And I was like, why is his hand so pale? And the glove was still on.
Yeah.
I kind of thought he was looking like, for a minute, his hair kind of grew longer. He had on
that's
that
weird too.
Glove. His pants were short, like Flood's, and he was kind of giving me Michael Jackson vibes for a minute.
Oh my god! Yeah, you're right. No, I totally
you should look at it again.
No, I get
he
it.
He had the one glove, and he kept using that hand. Yeah. The other, so that's funny. So the frog thing, that was really gross to me. Mm-hmm. And then it reminded me of like when we had to do that in school. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know if I could do that now. It's like I've dissected humans, but for some reason, like looking at that frog, like creeped me out more. Made
Yeah.
me think of the high school experience.
Yeah.
It was gross.
It was gross.
Okay, and then I'm just going to tell the story. I think I've already told it. You might have been there, but
Hmm.
like when we had to do that, I really liked our biology teacher. He was
Yes.
just like this gruff old dude.
Hmm.
And then we had to dissect the frogs, and my frog kept moving.
Yes.
And I told him, my frog is moving. And he's like,
Hmm.
that's just like a reflex or
Hmm.
whatever. And I was like, but he's moving. Like when I touch him,
Yeah.
he moves.
Yeah.
And then it happened a few times. And then finally, he just came over to my frog and took its head between his finger
Yeah.
and thumb and squished
Yeah.
its head. And
Yeah.
then he's like, no, it won't move.
Yeah.
That was very disturbing.
It's
Like my frog
extremely
was still
disturbing.
partially alive. That
Yeah.
wasn't just like muscle memory.
No.
His brain was still functioning
Yes.
while I was starting to dissect him.
Yeah. And then he mutilated the frog
Yeah.
in front of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Yeah, that's terrible.
It is terrible.
I have a recollection of that because I have a lot of like that whole. Well, first off, you're a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
We're freshmen in high school, and it's like our first big thing that we're doing is like mutilating a dead frog.
Yeah.
Or in your case, a partially dead frog,
Right.
which also means a partially live frog.
Ooh, yeah.
So that's cool way to start school as a freshman. Like I remember thinking like this is a really weird thing that we're doing. Like why do we need to do this to a
It's
frog?
true.
Like I learned nothing from that I couldn't have learned from looking at the diagram that we had to
Mm-hmm.
memorize beforehand.
Right. And like, when is it ever important in your life to know the inner workings of a frog? They could just have the model, like you said.
Yeah.
Or if they really insisted on reality, just have like one frog that's dissected at the front of class and then we all take turns looking at it. Why do we have to do it?
Exactly. Well, then there was the fetal pig.
Oh my God. Did we do that?
We did that.
And we did that.
You blocked it, I'm pretty sure. If you
And
don't
someone
remember
like
it.
carved their initials in their pig, I remember. I
It's
don't think I could do it.
Well, I mean, I felt traumatized emotionally from both of those events of
Mm-hmm.
dissecting, and it just like kept adding to my experience of adults not being safe to be around.
Mm-hmm.
He grew up with doing science like in the 60s and 70s.
Right.
And probably 50s. Like so that was like prime time for weird animal torture as research.
Mm-hmm.
So probably if he, all things considered, if he was the same person as much as possible today as he was then, he would never think to do that. Because he just seemed like outside of that, he really had a lot of empathy.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually one of my favorite teachers at the high school.
Me too.
Yeah. So that must have been extra awful for you because he did that. He did this thing that was very cruel
Mm-hmm.
in front of you.
Yeah. But I knew like at the time I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
viewing it as him being cruel, just him
Mm-hmm.
being like getting the job done.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought that the frog was dead and it was just like reflexive actions. I mean, at that point, what could you do? It's not like you could revive the frog.
Sure.
It was best to put it out of its misery.
Well, yeah.
But it was just like a very gruff,
Yeah.
frank way to do it
Yeah.
right in front of me.
Right.
And then just flop it back down.
You could have, he could have given you another frog
Mm-hmm.
and then gone in the back and done that. That frog's getting a master's degree.
Yeah, he's with the mice that went to college. Yes.
Oh my God.
Okay. So anyway, yeah. That's it. So in the end,
Yeah.
Spike is like, trying to convince Hoax to come back. He's like, Hoax, I know you're in there, blah, blah, blah. And Hoax comes back for a minute, but like Satan still has his grip on him.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so Spike
of
gets him
course.
over to the window, and the ground is cracked open to like open the gates to hell. And Spike throws Hoax into it, and
Yeah.
then he's gone. End of story.
Like, this movie didn't, like, have an impact on me as a kid, outside of just thinking, like, adults are kind of dumb.
Yeah, this movie didn't like scare me. I think we were already to the point of just like making fun of this. It was more just like the creep vibes from the actual
Yes.
human being I was getting that scared me.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, it was the fingerless surgical gloves.
Those are the scariest parts. I think I've been forgetting to do questions. Like I always forget them until the end, but I don't even think we've done them for the last couple.
We didn't do one last time for sure.
I know, and I think I forgot to do a quote last time. It's been a year. It's been a few months, people. Like, we're sorry for inconsistencies, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, Sarah's extremely busy in real life.
Yeah, I am in real life.
Yeah.
And just like very dramatic things have happened recently. Apologies.
Sometimes we do kind of have to disappear for a week or two, but we'll come back.
Yeah, it's always for a good reason.
Yeah.
A legitimate reason.
Yeah, it's not planned.
It's not just like us flaking. There's things happening, but we always will come back to it. We get to talk to each other.
Yeah, that's super fun.
We're just reliving our 6th grade phone sessions, like you said. Only now we're recording it. But yeah, so questions. I guess I would ask, were you or any of your friends ever what would be considered like, were you ever like burnouty people that wore like pentagrams and anarchy signs and kind of like would be considered part of the satanic panic?
And listen to
really
like,
weren't?
you like listen to heavy metal music, maybe, smoke pot. Somebody called you a burnout.
Yeah. Were you a burnout? We love burnouts. We listen to heavy metal music. Burnouts are cool. And I guess I just kind of know, like, if you were a burnout, were you ever were you just playing a role into like anarchy or Satanism, but really you weren't? You were just doing it to like get a rise out of people or just have an identity or just to like irk your parents.
And on the flip side of that, have you ever been a Satan worshiper who drinks blood? In the traditional sense of the Christian story of Satan.
Gosh, that's a better question. Yeah, let's just ask for the real deal. Either way, were you a like Satanist light or were you a real deal? Like a big fan of Geraldo Rivera. You were trying to get on his special on Satanism in the U.S.
Do you have a crush on Geraldo? And why? I want to know about that. There's actually a 70s porn actor named Harry Reams who really looks a lot like Geraldo.
Ooh, that doesn't surprise me. I'm gonna look him up. Harry Reams, that sounds disgusting.
No.
Make a better name. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for sticking with us through our brief hiatus and our random formats. We're just having fun trying to entertain ourselves and you.
Exactly.
And living our life in the meantime. And thank you for coming along for the ride. It's basically how I feel.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
I'd say ditto to that.
Thanks. We're done?
Ooh, I do have one more question.
Oh, okay.
I would love to hear your memories of USA Up All Night. That was a significant part of our like late grade school, junior high time on the weekends, as like making fun of the movies that they played on USA Up All Night.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. See you next Tuesday?
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. If you like our podcast, please give us a rating and please subscribe and please tell other people. Thank you for listening.
All right.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.